Welcome back. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Abubakar Mahmoud, is my guest on the program today. AB Mahmoud, as he is fondly called by friends and admirers, has practiced law for over 30 years. He was elevated to the rank of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, SAN, in 2001 and is a life bencher of the Body of Benchers, the highest regulatory body for the legal profession in Nigeria. AB Mahmoud has served the state, Kano, in the past as Solicitor General and even as Attorney General. He holds the national honor of the Office of the Order of the Niger, OON. In this interview, we talk about the public perception of the judiciary, his quest to lead the Nigerian bar, and other issues. Let's talk about the state of the nation, particularly the judiciary. At the Federal High Court in Lagos, the EFCC recently deposed to some statements on oath that their investigations reveal a network of collaboration and illicit transfer of funds from lawyers to judges. Many people say that this is just the tip of the iceberg, that this has become the norm. But what are your thoughts on the perception that the judiciary is corrupt?
It is very clear that the legal profession, including the judiciary, is under a lot of scrutiny. And obviously, a lot of statements have been made of recent, including by the president, that the judiciary seems to be his headache. I think those are the words he used in the fight against corruption. And a lot of the cases that were recently in court, a lot of allegations have come out. Now, this clearly go to portray the legal profession and the judiciary in not so good light. And there's clearly a need by the leadership of the judiciary to perhaps take a hard look at some of these things and take steps to really address them. It's not good if there's a public perception that lawyers and judges are engaged in some sort of network of collaboration to undermine the administration of justice. And this concerns the rule of law generally in the country. And we make our livelihood out of this. And there's a great public interest in this. So we are all very concerned about this, and we do hope that steps will be taken to really address these issues in a very fundamental way.
But do you agree that the judiciary is corrupt, or is it just a perception?
Well, at some point, perception becomes reality. So whether it is a perception, whether it is in fact things like that are happening, I think the issue needs to be addressed. So yes, some of these things are in court now, so one doesn't want to make very specific comments on them because they're subsidies. But the rules are very clear in terms of conduct of judges and conduct of lawyers. We have rules of professional ethics for lawyers, and we have a code of conduct for judicial officers. In terms of some of the issues that have come up recently, like judges accepting gifts, yes, there is some sort of lack of clarity in the rules themselves. On the one hand, they prohibit judges from taking gifts, but on the other hand, they do also say where such is a custom, then it is accepted. But of course, the rules have an overriding demand on justices and judges generally that they must conduct themselves with propriety. So anything that will portray the judiciary in an improper way, the judges must avoid it. So if a lawyer has a case before your court, I think it is common sense that one should avoid a situation in which the public will perceive that as a way of undermining the integrity of the process. So we need to look at the rules then to improve them and to make things more clear. For instance, in the corporate world, a lot of corporations will define the level of gift that a person can accept, the value. So anything exceeding a certain amount will be considered inappropriate. So I think the judiciary needs to look at these rules more clearly so that there is clarity in the way they are presented so that judges themselves know what is allowed and what is not allowed. You cannot say you accept something if it is a custom. And we know customs do vary. What we want to work towards is to really uplift our standards of code of conduct for the judges and for lawyers such that they meet international standards, they meet international best practice. And we don't allow some lack of clarity to confuse us. And I think that's what the situation we have now.
What would be international best practices, though, with regards to cash and gifts for judicial officers? Because I imagine some people will be thinking that, are we saying that judges shouldn't have friends? Are we saying that lawyers can't help them out when they are low on cash? And how does this all pan out with justice delivery?
Well, you know, once you decide to be a judge, once you decide that your calling is to be a judge, it involves a lot of sacrifice. You can't go on as if you're an ordinary citizen. So that in itself imposes a lot of restraint in terms of your social conduct, in terms of your network of friends, and so on and so forth. You can't be a politician and be a judge. You can't be a businessman and be a judge. So being a judge means accepting certain restrictions. But what I'm talking about is in terms of the clarity of the rules of code of conduct for judges. We need to improve them, we need to make them more clear. So that when you prohibit, let's say, collection of a gift or accepting a gift, you define it with greater clarity, with more specifics. So anything of X value is not allowed. And if we have those sort of standards, then the judges themselves will not be left in any doubt as to what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
Let's talk about the issue of Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Ricky Tafa. What do you think should be the role of lawyers, and particularly the role of the Nigerian Bar Association? Because some people are just worried about the sheer number of lawyers that are defending him.
Let me say that in these sort of cases, there are two conflicting principles which we need to understand. One is that the legal profession needs to be fiercely independent. A lawyer must have no fear when he takes up a case. That is the foundation upon which lawyers discharge their services. They should be able to take up a case no matter how unpopular it is, and whoever is being accused, say, of committing a crime is entitled to legal representation and is entitled to a lawyer of his choice. And when a lawyer takes up that case, he should be free to discharge his responsibilities without any concerns, any worries that he will be under scrutiny by state agencies and so on and so forth. So those principles need to be established. So that means if a lawyer is handling a case, you cannot now go on and start harassing that lawyer or intimidating him or carrying out unnecessary investigations. And if you have to do that, it has to be in accordance with due process and observe all the safeguards that the law provides for that lawyer, including privileged communication between himself and his client. Now, having said that, lawyers are not above the law. They must also be subject to the law. And no lawyer is entitled to conduct himself in a manner that undermines the very system that he's trying to protect. So you cannot take bribe or bribe judges, or you're supposed to present your case according to your best understanding of the law, in accordance with due principles of law. So if you think that the best way to do it is to bribe judges, and so those judges and those lawyers must be dealt with according to law. So these principles are very clear, that we lawyers are subject to the law like any other person. When we carry out our duties as lawyers, we expect to be protected by the law, and we expect to be independent. So the independence of the profession is sine qua non. It's important for our legal system, and it's part of our jurisprudence. So that's the point. And when you see the senior advocates lining up behind a particular lawyer, it's not because they want to send the point that that lawyer is above the law. I think the solidarity is more in terms of the principle behind protecting the integrity of the profession, behind ensuring that the independence of the legal profession is not undermined, and saying that, look, you can investigate any lawyer, but you cannot do so because he's doing a particular case or because he's involved in a particular matter. Those are the kind of things we want to balance and want to make sure that the right message is sent.
The NBA's disciplinary committee, it doesn't seem to move against senior lawyers. It's only the junior ones that get punished. And then people feel like the NBA is a toothless bulldog. They can't discipline some of their members. So what should be their role in a situation like this?
I think this question raises fundamentally the whole issue of the structure of the regulation of the profession. Undoubtedly, time has come when we need to really scrutinize the architecture of the whole regulation of the legal profession. And some people are advocating, in fact, that perhaps it is now time to separate the representative role of the Bar Association from the regulatory functions, as is being done in other countries. In the UK, for instance, they have done that. You have independent bodies regulating the legal profession there. The Bar Council is being regulated by the Bar Standards Board, and the Law Society is being regulated by the Law Society Regulatory Authority. And then you have another overarching regulatory body. So that argument is on. Others are saying, no, the direction to go is to strengthen the capacity of the Bar Association as a self-regulatory organization to carry out its responsibilities more effectively. Now, whichever way we go, the point has to be made that we have reached that level in which we need to now pull back and say, really, are we regulating the legal profession properly? And I don't think we are. And we need to really address these issues, because the legal profession is about serving the public interest. So we're not there to just protect interests of lawyers. We are there to protect the public interest, and we're there to provide legal services to consumers of legal services in the best interest traditions of the bar, but overall promoting the national interest. So I think we now have to sit back and really look at the regulation of the legal profession and look at the experiences of other countries and see how they have gone, and whether it is now time for us to also move in those directions. But definitely the point has to be made that the legal profession in Nigeria needs to be regulated differently. Either we enhance the capacity of the Bar Association to do its job properly, or we disaggregate it and have a more independent, autonomous unit. But these are debates that lawyers themselves have to have. And I hope that we can take charge and not wait for somebody else to take charge of this process.
I know that you're married to a judge, and I'm curious. I know some of our viewers would also like to know, have you ever appeared before her? Has your law firm ever done cases before her? And how does that play out?
Yes, I'm married to a judge. She has been a judge for probably close to 20-something years. I've appeared before her once in my career as a lawyer, and that was before an appellate panel. And when the case was called, I said to the presiding justice that I don't think I should go on with this matter, but he said, no, this is... So they went ahead. It was just a procedural issue, nothing substantive. But no, I don't really take on cases, contentious matters. I've never been before in any contentious proceeding. And also, I've never discussed any of her cases with her throughout the time she has been a judge. She's a fiercely independent judge, and I don't think she will tolerate me interfering with her work.
Can we round off with your aspirations to lead the Nigerian Bar Association? I know that the president of the Nigerian Bar, Mr. Augustine Alege, SAN, recently lifted the ban on campaign for elections. I've heard that this is the third time that you're running for president of the NBA. But what's behind this ambition to lead the Nigerian Bar?
Yes, this is the second time I'll be running for not the third time. I indicated an interest much earlier, back in 2004, I think, and then ran for the office in an election that I contested with Mr. J.B. Daudu and Chief Bayojo. Both of them have been presidents of the bar at various times, so maybe that is a good sign that I may also be the next one. But the motivation really is at two levels. Basically, at the professional level, that we think that the Bar Association ought to be putting out its best to lead it. And it involves a lot of sacrifice, obviously, but it's something which we feel that some of us have to really do the sacrifice and provide that service. And I'm obviously not saying I'm the best to lead the bar, but a lot of my colleagues feel, especially if as it is time for, we are rotating the leadership now from one part of the country to another, and that is to provide for inclusiveness and all of that. So the motivation is really to help in steering the profession in a direction which will best promote the interests of the profession and really project it in the best light. And we recognize that the Bar Association is one of the building blocks of the Nigerian state, or Nigerian nation, and it has a huge role to play. We have the largest legal profession in Africa, and we now have the largest economy in Africa. And we think if the Bar Association is properly led and it properly plays its role, that it will really significantly contribute to national development. So that takes me to the second point, which is really to say that we have to play our role in nation building. And we're at an era in which there's a lot of dissatisfaction by fellow countrymen and women in terms of the way the country, the direction the country is going. We all do not have the luxury of folding our arms, especially at this juncture in our national history, when obviously the legal profession itself is under scrutiny. And a lot of our country, recently when we had the elections of the current administration, the expectations were very high. And there's everywhere demand for change, demand for improvement in our national life and so on. So, and the legal profession has to play its role. So one is encouraged by the current atmosphere to really say, yes, we also have to come out and play our role. So that is basically the motivation.
The legal profession could do with better regulation. The code of conduct for judges could also do with more clarity in some areas. Above all, lawyers, whether on the bar or the bench, must always uphold the ethics of the profession. These are just a few thoughts from my guest, AB Mahmoud, SAN. As always, you can share your thoughts, comments, and questions using any of our social media handles. If you missed any part of this program, you can find it or any episode on our YouTube channel. I am Shola Shieli. Thank you for watching.